they sent me the tapes, and it was, from Barrowlands, 1986. And it's amazing how it starts, because it starts out with the Glasgow crowd, because Kirsty was always big in Scotland, because, well, with Celts in general, but, the name Kirsty, the red hair, the father, it was a big deal. So when Kirsty came on stage, the whole Barrowlands audience started to sing, Kirsty, 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 Kirsty. And it sounds so amazing with their accent. So I kept that in the record. So, you've got this sort of emotional thing of them cheering, and then the piano comes in. It's really good.
Hey everyone, Mark Millar here, and this is the XS Noize Podcast. If this is your first episode, you're very welcome, and if you're back for more, it's great to have you with me again. Last episode, I was chatting with Kirsty MacColl from The Claws about their debut album, Victim of a Casual Thing, so check it out if you haven't already. And this episode, we're into something properly iconic, emotional, and part of the soundtrack of Christmas. My guest is legendary producer Steve Lillywhite, the man behind U2, the Rolling Stones, Talking Heads, The Killers, Peter Gabriel, and of course, one of the most beloved and enduring Christmas songs ever written, Fairytale of New York. We chat about the new 4-track EP that shines a light on a completely unreleased live version of the song, captured at Glasgow Barrowlands in December 1987. And we get into the magic behind the original recording as well. It's a landmark moment, the first time the band ever played it live, and Kirsty MacColl's first time performing it on stage, now lovingly restored by Steve. We also get into the albums from his incredible career, from U2 to Simple Minds to The Lads, and his favourite songs he's recorded. So relax, grab a cuppa, and enjoy this one. Steve Lillywhite, Fairytale of New York, right here on the XS Noize Podcast. So, hi Steve, welcome to the XS Noize Podcast.
Hi Mark, nice to meet you.
Fairytale of New York, you've shaped whole eras of music, but Fairytale of New York is different. When you hear it come around every December, that first piano note, Kirsty's voice, Shane's rasp, what hits you first? Pride, nostalgia, or disbelief that you were there capturing it?
When I hear it, it makes me think, fuck, it's Christmas. Honestly. Like, oh yes, this is the beginning of Christmas. So it's obviously pride. I mean, it's whenever you make anything, like if you're an artist or, any sort of art form, everyone makes art. But what the sort of pinnacle of that for me has always been timeless art. And not many people can do that. And you can never say this is timeless art, because by definition, time has not passed. So, it's some records you make, you think, well, that's good. And it can sort of go like that. Other records have this, a different sort of flow. Fairytale definitely has that. It was fantastic when we did it, but it's what it's become subsequently has really been amazing. Although, if you hear, well, I'll just quickly jump to the live version. It was recorded at Barrowlands, Christmas 1986. So it was the year the record first came out. So people had heard it, but they hadn't really, it hadn't become what it is now. It wasn't even, at number 2 yet, because this gig was, I think, a few days before Christmas, maybe a couple of weeks before. So they recorded it, and originally it was just going to be an extra song on this EP. But the band heard it and they went, oh, that doesn't sound good enough to release it. So send it to Steve, see what he thinks. And I listened to it and I went, no. I mean, it was no one's fault. It was just from a live thing in 1986. Someone at Warner Brothers had just probably spent an hour pushing the faders up. Because of the original version for me is so sort of pristine. I wanted to make at least a live version have work in that format. That's what it is. The record works as a record, but there's some great live albums out as well. So they sent me the tapes, and it was from Barrowlands 1986, and it's amazing how it starts, because it starts out with the Glasgow crowd, because Kirsty was always big in Scotland, because with Celts in general, but the name Kirsty, the red hair, the father, it was a big deal. So when Kirsty came on stage, the whole Barrowlands audience started to sing Kirsty, 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 Kirsty. And it sounds so amazing with their accent. So I kept that in the record. So, you've got this sort of emotional thing of them cheering, and then the piano comes in. It's really good. It's a good deal spunkier than the album version. But I think it really worked, and I think Warner Brothers thought that. So that's one of the reasons I'm doing this, because they heard it and they went, "Oh, that's really good. We want to give it some extra legs this Christmas." But the original question was, what do I feel when I hear it?
Yeah, because it's a time of year you'll be walking around supermarkets, you'll be in pubs, and it comes on. And do you still appreciate it when you hear it, in the background or wherever you are?
It is. It's a very emotional thing. My thought has always been, I don't think anyone, maybe I'm wrong by saying this, I don't think anyone falls in love with it completely first time they hear it. I feel like it's one of those things that you grow, the more you hear it, your liking sort of goes up rather than goes down on some songs, and certainly for me, because we were in the middle of doing If I Should Fall From Grace With God, which has got, it's so many different styles of music and different songs that you get so wrapped up in doing the album that it's like, Fairytale, let's just tick that one off. Oh, good. Let's move on to Fiesta. Let's do Bottle of Smoke. Great tracks on the album. Yeah. So when it came out, it was just, let's hope it does well. But, apparently it wasn't actually that close to Pet Shop Boys. It would be nice to think that, the Pet Shop Boys were like 10 records ahead of it, but apparently it was quite a big gap.
Well, let's go back to how it first started. How did Kirsty MacColl come to be part of the song? And did you realize how perfect that pairing with Shane MacGowan would be?
Right. Well, I was married to Kirsty at the time. So that helped. And we had a studio at home, and we had 2 young kids, but we were recording the album in North London. We lived in West London, and I had a studio at home. But I would go, but it was not big enough to do a band, let alone a band like the Pogues. But it was good just for Kirsty to do singing. But I was recording the Pogues at Rack Studios in St. John's Wood. The name that was sort of mentioned during the recording was for the girl was Chrissie Hynde. I think the band were very interested in having Chrissie do it, but no one had actually contacted her or anything. So when we cut the song and it was time to, and we got to the point where we needed to do someone mentioned, how about letting Kirsty have a go on it? And because Kirsty was a big fan, they shared, Frank Murray managed the Pogues and used to manage Kirsty, and I was married to her. And I said, look, let me take the tape home. We'll spend the weekend, we'll do a vocal, and you tell us what you think. And, Kirsty was such a beautiful soul that, like, if you didn't use it, great. She just loved singing it. But if you wanted to use it, great. So I took it home, and because we had the kids, we spent a whole day doing her vocal, which is, but really working hard to get something good. And took it into the band on Monday morning and played it, and they just went, "Oh my God, no one mentioned Chrissie Hynde again." It was like, this is it. This is great. And at which point, I don't know whether I said to Shane or he said to us, it's like, my vocal isn't good enough, is it? Because Kirsty's was so good, Shane was a bit sleepy. Sometimes on he can when he's a bit slurry, so you need to get him when his shoulders are back and he's big and proud, So Shane went in and recut his vocal to Kirsty's vocal. So it was first off Kirsty to Shane, and then it was Shane to Kirsty. And it sort of went like that. And so we ended up with that. Yeah. So we're very pleased.
With Shane's vocal, did you have to come from many takes to create the final version?
It was recorded for anyone who is the band had always said to me, we have a problem, Steve, going from the first verse to the second verse. Says, we can never get the changeover right. And I said, well, why don't we just record the first bit on its own and then record the second bit on its own, which is when the band comes in after the long intro. And he said, I'll just cut the tape. And they went, oh yeah, that's a good idea. So it was like such a simple, answer, but someone had to have that, so that was my idea to do it in two pieces. So the first part was Shane and James Fernley playing the piano. And I think they did about 6 takes of it. And we were all listening and we listened back and we went, yeah, it's got to be take 3. So that was just one performance of piano and vocal. And in fact, it was difficult to change the piano or the vocal because there was spill going in the microphones because it was quite a bright studio, So we did that. Then the band went in and just counted in, where the band comes in for Kirsty. And then I chopped the tape together and, oh yeah, that sounds good. So that was one problem fixed. What was the question? Say again?
About comping Shane's vocals?
Oh, comping Shane's vocals. Oh, yeah. Well, that's the job, isn't it? Sometimes, but you knew if he was on a roll, then you'd get it within 3 takes because he was so good. But sometimes it's like pulling teeth. And I've done vocals sometimes that sound like they're just thrown away, but it's a big, that was a big thing back in the day for me, was comping lots of things. Because there was no auto-tune or anything like that. So, but I would never say to someone, just do that first line again, do it again, which some producers do. I always let them do a whole take, then sometimes I say, could you just give us the first line again or something like that? But in general, I like to get a performance from them, which is, everyone has their different ways of getting the best out of an artist. But that's my system. So in the actual song, I can't remember how many. I don't think he did many takes. And then, as I say, he came back and redid it again after Kirsty. And I don't know how many takes on that. Maybe probably only 2 or 3. And I would, put them together. I love doing that. That was a big part of my producing in those days. Yeah.
It's such a cinematic production. Was it always planned to be like that?
I wasn't that close to Shane. I was sort of very close to everyone else in the band, but I think, I was much closer to all the others. But I do remember Shane saying he didn't like the outro. He said he wanted the outro. He didn't say it, but my way of explaining how I think about it was like he wanted the outro to be the basement of the Titanic rather than the ballroom of the Titanic. If you get what that means,
yeah,
from the movie, there's a great, sort of raucous. He wanted it more sort of, like really, sort of almost cartoon-like in it, and it's a little, but in general, he was such a huge fan of Kirsty, and forever together on that song, yeah.
When the song was finished, and you're all in the studio. What was the atmosphere like when you had the final playback for everyone, for the band, for Kirsty, for yourself?
I think the final playback was of the album. I'm not sure if we did here's the single playback, because as I say, our heads were giving equal love to all the songs on the album. But yeah, I don't remember thinking this is going to be voted like Britain's best ever Christmas single, because you don't know anything like that. You're so caught up in trying to do the best you can out of fear that you never really think it's that good. I mean, I don't know. It's a weird thing. It's at the time, I've got no idea, I wish I did.
When you hear your younger self on those tapes, when you were looking back for the new release, the instincts, the rough edges, do you still recognize that producer today?
The rough edges on the records or the rough edges on my personality? Are you telling me my records were pretty rough in those days, Mark? Is that what you're saying?
You You,
that. You just
you,
said that.
you were saying you had to go back to the original master tapes, and I'm just thinking, but was there things that you did then that you probably wouldn't do now? That's what I mean.
I get that. I don't need to listen to the original master tapes to analyze what I have done in the past. I mean, I know exactly what's on it. There's no surprises on Fairytale of New York. I mean, it was, for as raucous as the recording sessions were, I was pretty together at steering this ship, which was the Pogues in 1986. Because you don't want to lose the spirit of the band, but you're also making a record that you believe can be as good as it possibly can be.
How hard was it to control a band like the Pogues in the studio recording that album?
It was. I was the captain of the ship. That's my job basically. My job is to steer the ship safely to port. And another Titanic reference. That ship didn't have a good captain, so. It's funny. I have a great affinity to Celts in general. With a name like Lillywhite, I don't think there's very much Irish in me, and so I don't know quite why that's happened.
The song was voted BBC Radio 2's favourite 80s duet. Why do you think its power has never faded?
Well, as I said earlier, I think it's one of those songs that really does grow on you. I mean, some songs that, like, as I say, you get this instant like, oh wow, that's great. Other songs sort of creep up on you. And I think Fairytale definitely crept up on me. And I just think of myself as being like a punter. And also I think because maybe that's what's great about Christmas songs that are great is that they really are only in this little block. So, I mean, I get the same feeling when I hear Wizard or Slade or, Chris Rea even. And who would have thought I would have liked Chris Rea? But there's that Christmas song of his, I think is good. So we are blessed in our country with having the Christmas single an art form rather than a piece of commerce. And I think, it's great to think of it as an art form. And our greatest artists, Paul McCartney, Elton John, George Michael, they all felt they wanted to throw their hat in the ring for this sort of honor, this untold honor of being cool at Christmas, and that's really what it was. It's I'm sure they don't make much money out of it, but it's that idea of being cool at Christmas. I think is and we were very lucky on Fairytale because could argue it's probably the coolest Christmas song. Yeah. But then again, it is it's almost in a race of its own. It's like coming on a separate thing. There's Christmas records, and then there's Fairytale of New York. A little bit, I think. I don't know if you think that.
I think a sign of a great song is a song that takes time to reveal itself to you. And as you said, that's what it definitely does.
Yeah. Because I remember when I first heard, Yes, I'm Happy, I went, oh, what a fantastic song. 2 weeks later, I'm going, turn that fucking record off. Oh, dear. Yeah, I just thought that.
Steve, I've read that you've called Kirsty's vocal one of the best you've ever recorded. So what makes a perfect vocal performance to you?
Well, it's something that sounds effortless within the music. I don't think it should ever, for me, sound like it was chopped and cut and pasted. I hear a lot of records now, and even if they don't have auto-tune on, they sort of sing like there's a certain sort of hit every single note, boom, 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 like that. And I think before auto-tune, singers were much more varied. And I mean, I love auto-tune. I've used it a lot since it came in, but I never do it by looking at the screen, I always do it using my ears. So I will say, I'll have a copy of the lyrics and I'll say to my engineer, this word, and I'll listen and I'll go, this word, just fix that little bit. And they'll go, yes, but look, Steve, and I said, I'm not looking. I just want what my ears are telling me, which is not perfect pitch. It's like it allows a vocal to breathe,
You've produced so many era-defining records from U2 to Talking Heads. Do you still feel that same spark walking into a studio today?
Well, I haven't walked into a studio to basically start anything since I was in Vegas with U2 they had a song especially for the Sphere shows, the Vegas shows, and they'd been recording it with Jackknife, and it was going really good. And they just said, Steve, on a weekend, we're going to LA. We want to cut this song Atomic City live, because they done it lots sort of bits and pieces. And then it's like this idea Bono had, let's do it live. So he says, oh, you come in. That was the first time I've set up drums and done a whole thing from the beginning. I've done mixing and stuff like that for people, but actually doing what I do, which is sitting in a room with people, I haven't done that, and I doubt I will ever do that again. It's time for young people to be doing that. I don't want to clog up, that. And, when I was young, I was 23 when I did Hong Kong Garden, which was, it was extremely young. At that time, a 30-year-old producer I felt was old. A 40-year-old was like, oh, it's been an amazing run, but it's not, you can't do it. It's a bit, it's not as bad as being a footballer, but it has its sort of, it has its life,
With AI now and all the modern production techniques, have we lost some of the human imperfection that made,
did you read
records so emotional?
That article yesterday that said that the first AI #1 in America, it's a country record. And also the statistic was 97% of people cannot tell the difference between real and AI. I mean,
yeah,
that is scary. It's scary. And, it's not that gap isn't going to get more, is it? It's going to be 98% next year. 99%, and then we're in some sort of alternate universe.
Well, with that in mind, if you were producing Fairytale today, could it even be made the same way?
But that's a big question, because it's not just the equipment, it's how the human race is. I mean, we are so different, because, if you go back to mid-80s and you look at, you're too young, but if I go back and look at a photo of myself, I question every single thing about the look. But at the time, obviously that was, so would this person now be able to get that sound, and would that band be, it's so nuanced, and you can't run a parallel universe where you go back. Although that would be a good science fiction TV show.
What do you hope people take away from this new EP, especially those who've loved the song their whole lives?
Well, weirdly, I don't really know what's on the EP. It's a version of Dirty Old Town, which I haven't heard, but I presume is really good. A live version of that. There's the live Fairytale. I don't know.
Instrumental. There's instrumental.
Is there an instrumental? Okay, that's good. I don't know what they'll get. It's maybe new people. Because people are always discovering it, So I don't know what that's a sort of marketing thing maybe, but they're all very excited. I think yet another Christmas, but I don't know if it should be #1. Because it's so much of an underdog record, and it's like it might lose a bit of its magic if it ever finally got it.
Yeah, because last Christmas only got #1 last year, and it was obviously the famous #2 as well.
I think it's never been #1, not on the BBC official chart thing.
No, I think in the past couple of years on the iTunes chart or something like that it was.
Oh, okay, yeah, but that's it's for me. There's only one chart,
yes,
and that's because I used to watch Top of the Pops, and you took great solace in the simplicity of your musical knowledge. It was great. What I was given as growing up, it's like when there were so many people, what's the word? People gatekeepers in music. There was you had to be good, and then you had to convince someone else you were good, but not that many people. And then you had to make a record, and that had to be in a good studio, and that didn't guarantee your record would be released. Because the biggest expense for a record company in those days, making a record, was not the recording of it, it was the promotion of it. especially in America. So many records got made that were never released just because some sort of A&R guy decided it was not good enough or something like that, you know.
On Fairytale, you know, there's been debates around language and edits over the years. As a producer, where do you land on preserving the historical record versus the one adapted for broadcast?
That is so nuanced, that question, and I don't know where I stand on it. I remember recording it, and no one at the time even had it was never mentioned in the studio, not by Philip Chevron, who might well have taken offense. So no one really, it was a non-event, you know, it wasn't like anyone thought it was any different. And then when it came about, they managed to find an edit of Kirsty's from Top of the Pops, which said, "You're cheap and you're haggard," which is a great lyric. So that was good as well. I think just by talking about it so much, it gives it more importance than it really needs. You know, it's okay either way. You know, let's not get too like het up over changing history, but be aware that you know, times change. Yeah, I don't know where I stand on that because, you know, I don't want to come across as a fucking Nazi, you know. No, it hasn't, you know, but I understand the woke as well, you know. So I don't know where I stand, Mark. I'm a confused old man.
So, Steve, this here section, it's Quickfire album memory. So you've worked on hundreds of albums. So I'll just name a few. And if you can just tell me the first memory or feeling or a good story that comes to mind.
Okay, hit me.
U2 War, 1983.
1983, they'd gone, October was not the big follow-up to Boy that everyone was expecting. And in those days, I'd only want to do one album with someone, but they asked me back for October. And then after October, I said, you need to go and find another producer. They went and they did some stuff with Sandy Pearlman and a couple of things. And then I got a phone call saying, Steve, what are you doing in September? Nothing. Oh, we want you to come and do War. So I went back to Dublin and we were in the studio. And I remember Bono saying to Edge, don't be like Edge, be like Mick Jones from The Clash. You know, the whole idea was that October felt a little sleepy, maybe. War was, you know, the title. When U2's big picture is realized, they have a brilliant album. Joshua Tree, The Desert, War, that sort of anger, Achtung Baby, Eastern Europe, All That You Can't Leave Behind, Looking Back.
Simple Minds, Sparkle on the Rain, 1984.
Just a lot of crazy times, a lot of late nights. The album is really full on and it's very intense. And actually, on listening back to it, I would have liked at some places to have a sort of moment, but it never lets up. Every song is full on, you know. And even when I did a 12-inch mix of Waterfront that had one of those moments in it, which a chill moment, which I wish I'd done on the album, because it would have, I think it was too hard. I mean, it wasn't too hard because I know some people love that album, but it was full on relentless. So in retrospect, maybe I would have just, you know, but that's where we were at the time.
The one and only debut album by the Lads.
Oh God! Yes. And I have 10 seconds to answer this. Oh well, it was at the end of the day, it was a compromise, and you know, and I will stand by Lee. You know, Lee's a thing was that, you know, it was not the album that made them the biggest band in the world, and you know, as much as it's what they are, it you know, and I won't say it was me. I mean, there's so many producers were involved, and you know, but again, the whole idea is you let that go and you make another one and you push yourself, and he didn't, which is sad because he was, you know, I would say, you know, in boxing they say pound for pound the greatest fighter. It doesn't matter the weight, you know, sort of pound for pound. I would say Lee Mavers wins it for me on an acoustic guitar if you lined them all up with an acoustic guitar and sing me a minute, Dave Matthews, sing me a minute, but Chris Cornell, I think Lee Mavers might win that one. He might very much win that. I mean, he was very powerful and just talented as fuck, Yeah. Hit me again.
Obviously, you were sole producer in the first 3 albums, and after those, you were brought in to save the day on quite a lot of occasions, especially with this one. U2, How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb.
Okay, well, my job on How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb was actually a third category. I mean, on Joshua Tree, Achtung Baby, All That You Can't Leave Behind, and those ones in the 2000s, songs of this, songs of that. Whatever I did, I came in towards the end and just worked on 2 or 3 songs. On How to Dismantle an Atomic Bomb, they decided to change producer. On all the other ones, they added me to the team, right? So, but on this, they subtracted someone and added me. So all of a sudden, I was like back doing what I did on the first 3 albums, but in a different way. But I was the guy that, because we still had 2 or 3 studios going at the same time, and that was great because, well, it was great. The song you probably, well, if you're a big U2 fan, you probably know.
Sometimes.
Not sometimes, no. Native Son.
Yes, yeah. I've heard the original version of that.
Right, Native Son. So anyway, that was what I was played, and they said, and I said, oh, that's the single, right? And they go, yeah, we think that's the single. I said, well, I don't really like the recording of Native Son. It doesn't have that, because for me, it's got those bar chords, and it should be sort of punky and, more like I could imagine a sound of earlier U2 than this was quite just, and it was a polite song about gun control, and it was good. We didn't know any different. So I got the band to set up in a completely different way. And I said, Bono, go in and do a vocal, because at this point we actually had a song to record, because after October, after Boy, they never recorded a song. Bono would always write the lyrics after the music was done. So this was a finished song that we could go in and record as a band, so they went in and Bono started singing Native Son, and halfway through the song, he put the mic down and came into the control room. And I said, what are you doing in here? You're supposed to be out there singing. He goes, can't sing that song. I can't go on the road for 2 years. I can do better than that. So we cut the music and then spent a long time working on the chorus of Vertigo. We didn't work on the verses at all. We just kept rolling the chorus, and he would come up with all these different things, and nothing really stuck. And then, as usual, one night, nothing really stuck. We came in to the studio, and I came in early, and I've got the tape, and I'm listening to it, and I'm hearing this vocal that goes, hello, hello, I'm at a play. And I go, no, not that. And then someone walks past and goes, oh, I like that. One of the catering staff or something. So you go, really? And that was not it wasn't a moment of, wow, this is fantastic. When we did it, again, it was like, oh, can't think of anything better than that. So that became the chorus, and then writing the verse again is quite rhythmic, and Bono is such a brilliant crooner. It's not his natural thing to sing da 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 da. To some people, that's so easy. For Bono, it's not. What Bono is great with these big, Frank Sinatra. Well, we always say this, they're like Frank Sinatra with electric guitars. So getting the verse was actually, that was more craft rather than art, because it was like singing on the beat. But the chorus was literally, he would sing anything that came into his head. He's very instinctive like that, Bono. He has to truly believe in his heart what he's doing is the right thing. But when he gets it right, it's fantastic.
I love that song. It's U2's last great single, in my opinion.
Vertigo, yeah, I think so. I mean, I liked Atomic City, the one we were talking about earlier that we did in Vegas, but
very similar.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, maybe.
If you had to pick 5 songs you've recorded that mean the most to you, what would make the list?
Oh my God. I think I've always said my favorite U2 song is Drowning Man. I love that.
What for? I love it. It's amazing.
I love the way I love the way it ended up.
Underrated.
You know, everything about that song. It's just do. Yeah, take my hand. When those vocals come in, great moment, you know.
Yeah.
So Drowning Man, I would have, let me think of another U2. Anyway, and October. I love October. I mean, just like the emotion these songs give me when I hear October, or in, you know, some of those more laid back, or Tomorrow even off October. That's a great song. Who else have I worked with? Probably Fairytale or something from that Pogues album. I mean, Bottle of Smoke is a fantastic song, you know. I do a Dave Matthews Band because I love them. I did really well with them in America. They didn't ever have a hit outside of America, but there was a time when they were, arguably one of the bigger bands there. I did a band called Hours, Ours, and they've just really. I'll give them a quick plug because they've just re-released their album on vinyl, and their singer Jimmy Necco is fantastic, and the song "Fallen Souls" is one of the best vocals I've ever done. He's brilliant on it, but never really became successful. But I love that one. Yeah, but Drowning Man, I think that's my favorite.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that.
Is It Like Today by World Party? Fucking love that track. Oh, it's just a brilliant song. I mean, the lyrics.
I have the album. Yeah,
have the album back. Yeah, okay. Just check that out there. Yeah, that's my.
I'm going to check out Ours as well. I've never heard them before.
Yeah, Ours. Yeah.
One song you wish you'd produced, but just because you love the sound of it.
Oh, Lust for Life, or anything by Phil Spector. During those golden years of my Christmas album of all time is Phil Spector's Christmas album. I mean, I always play that at Christmas. I think it's just perfect. Absolutely perfect. Lust for Life for the drum sound. I love that sort of sound.
You two are rumored to be working on a new album. You usually get the call at a certain stage. Have you got the call yet?
I haven't had the call. The one member of the band I speak to socially is Adam, because back in the day we were the reprobates, and now we're the sober ones. So he's a really good mate, and he keeps me up to date. I think things are going well. Who knows? I mean, he hasn't told me, and if he had told me, I wouldn't tell you because it's not my. It's not my job. I mean, I've said that a couple of times, and I've got told off. So I have to be careful what I say, because it's not my place to talk about them really, other than post. It's my job isn't to predict what they're going to do. I mean, I would love to be involved, but we'll see.
Well, what's next for you?
There's not been anything, and there won't be anything, I don't think. I mean, I'm living here in Bali. And I'm pretty much retired. If I got the call from U2, of course I would go and help them. But it's not something I'm waiting for, or I mean, because it's they push themselves so hard, that band, that I know if I it's not an easy. It's not like going on holiday. It's a lot of tension, and yeah, I'm really happy with my life now. So yeah.
Good.
Well, look, Mark, it's a pleasure.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure.
Just keep in touch.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, Steve. It's been an absolute pleasure, and enjoy the rest of your evening.
I will do. Have a good one, mate.
Right, take it easy. Bye.
Bye.